Three topics I want to be discussing today are certificate deprecation, hyperconnect, and integrating Python and Anaplan Connect, joining those two together. So first, with certificate deprecation, hopefully everyone's aware, as of December, well, end of December, we will no longer be supporting Anaplan generated certificates. So if you are running integrations and trying to do that, those will start failing. So we want everyone migrated right away. And the real reason we're doing this is for security. We're offloading the responsibility of certificate management, which is not, not our line of business, to certificate authorities, where that's all they do, and they do it well. And I'll go into a bit of the technical details of what that entails and what the change is. So right now, the Anaplan generated certificate, basically all we know is that we generated a certificate, it's valid for a year, and it contains your email address. The CA certificates, the way that works is they will be generating a string of text, signing it with the private key, and then sending that off to our auth server, which we will decrypt using the public key, and that basically verifies that the person sending the request is authorized to do it, and then we'll send back a token. That's where all your API traffic what your API traffic will use. So that part is technical but fairly straightforward. The steps required for migration are, for Anaplan Connect users, everyone has to be on 1.4 or better. So if you're on the latest version, you're all set to go. Just if you're using basic authentication, you can look into procuring a certificate. They run about $20 a year, pretty much vendor-wide. And the certificate you want to get is SMIME, not SSL or any other certificate. SMIME certificate is what you'll need. And that will send you, you'll get a private key and a public key. Give us the public key through our tenant administration tool, and you're pretty much set. So we'll move on here to just describe the integration step, or the steps for everyone. As I said, for Anaplan Connect, it's fairly straightforward. Get a certificate. You can either use the keys as they are, private and public, or you can create a Java key store file for us to consume. For anyone using an ETL tool with a connector, so that's Informatica, MuleSoft, Dell Boomi, and SnapLogic, those connectors already have the software development done, where we can just consume the JKS or certificates. If you're using a custom API, that will be up to you to redo the code so that you can consume the CA certificate. Tableau is releasing an updated connector. You'll have to keep in touch with their support team for when that will be ready, but that is going to be done before we deprecate certificate authentication. Now there are three basic options. It's do-it-yourself, advisory, or you can have it done for you by either Anaplan or a partner. So DIY, as it sounds, is you have the responsibility to migrate everything and take care of that all yourself. An advisory role, you can have either the partner or Anaplan come in to basically guide you through and help troubleshoot any problems you have. And finally, having Anaplan or a partner do it is option 3, and there are 3 basic sizes for that, at least for our ProServe team to come in and do. Up to 15 scripts, we can do that. We're expecting about a week's worth of work. Anything above 30, it gets to be very tricky, and we have to have a specific discussion to look at what that's going to look like. But really, it's just a matter of moving over the newest jar file, updating all of the scripts to use the new functionality of the latest version of Anaplan Connect. Moving on to hyperconnect. So this is, there's been a lot of confusion, even though we've had it now for approaching 4 years. Hyperconnect is not the tool, that is the name of the license that we sell. So Informatica Cloud is the ETL tool that we are partnered with, and they just allow us to sell an OEM license, so it comes at a pretty substantial discount in different connector packages, 2, 5, and 10 for, as you can see, 10, 25, and 47,000 USD per year. Now these connectors basically entitle you to access a data source, whether it's Anaplan, Salesforce, SAP, you name it. There's hundreds of connectors available in their library. And you can reuse those connectors ad infinitum. It just gives you access to a data source. So for example, if you're using SAP and Anaplan for 2 connectors, set up a connection using your connector to Anaplan, but you can reuse that connector hundreds of times for hundreds of Anaplan models. And with SAP, if you have multiple SAP products, say ECC, BW, HANA, you can reuse that connector over and over to connect to all those data sources and bring them all together. So it's a really great tool for connecting in a lot of sources from something like SAP or Salesforce. Now, it's a really simple UI that where you design, deploy, and monitor all your tasks. It's great for business users. Really, I think that is the key advantage. We're asked a lot for, what is the best tool? There's not one perfect tool, but I will say, in my experience, that if you want business to own the integration and not have to rely on IT for the bulk of the tasks, Hyperconnect is your best option because it's such a simple interface, which I will go into in a bit. But it's basically a very simple drag and drop UI, as you will show in just a moment here. So I'll first take you in to Informatica Cloud. This is a task flow, but I will show you where you land when you first get into the integration tool. So you can see here some basic statistics of jobs I've run, the different runtime environments that are up, and the assets. You jump in here, basically you'll have buckets of project folders where all your tasks reside. And within that, I will show, this is a task flow. So it'll just run a sequence of integration tasks in the order you define down here. So this is a simple SFDC to Anaplan account update. So you see here, we're pulling in from the accounts object, just name, ID, billing, country, billing, city, very simple. And then we will map it over to Anaplan, where set up the mapping here. Since it's just a list, it's ID to ID. The next object here is the details, where we will be pulling in billing, city, name, etc., and mapping it over to all of the details in Anaplan. As you can see here, I kept some of the IDs, but there are no details. So when I run this task, it takes about 2 minutes. So what you'll see here, it starts the job, and I have some details about jobs I've run. And I can go in here to see the status. It doesn't automatically refresh. You click here to update it, but just staying in here, you can also see pretty close to real time what's going on. But I'll let that run for a moment and then just explore a bit more of one of the mapping tasks to show some of the other options. So you can see this is simple, drag and drop, source to target. But I can also aggregate data, apply expressions, mask it, sort it. I can see here, perform a union. So if I have two data sets from different databases, different connections that I want to join into a single file in Anaplan, I can do that very easily right here. So this can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. And that's the other nice thing about Informatica. They have very basic training and more advanced training. So you can identify a few people that you want doing this and to own the solution. They can run through the self-paced trainings when they have some time and become experts in Informatica so that you can really take full advantage of the tool, because it is a full ETL tool with all that functionality built in. And let me refresh. So, oh, of course. But once this loads, I should see, instead of 11 IDs, 14 objects and 44 updated cells. And if I jump back into my jobs here, hopefully I will see that reflected. Okay, it's updated my 14 list objects, still processing all my cell updates. But integration demo. Apologies for that. I've been trying to keep that session live for the last 3 hours now, but let me refresh this again. Oh, a bit slow today. Well, I'll just get some prep on for my next demo then. This will be showing how to integrate Python and Anaplan Connect. So basically kind of simulating a push. There's no such thing as pushes in Anaplan, but we can simulate it this way. hopefully this refreshes before my model does. Okay, 44. So it says 44 rows processed. That's not accurate. It's actually a cell update. Lists will give you how many items have been inserted into a list or updated. Your row count for module data is actually how many cells have been updated. So as you can see here, jump into my account details. There, I now have a module full of account data. So let me jump back over to my presentation for Python. So Python, for those of you who don't know or aren't familiar, it's a scripting tool usually used on Linux, but it's available on pretty much any operating system. And it's a really great scripting language with a lot of modules and libraries available that you can bring in to manipulate data, run different actions. In this case, I'm using Python and the Flask microservice, and then virtual environment to act as basically a virtual web host. But this script will sit out there and listen for an incoming request, and then once it detects it, we'll fire off the rest of the actions in the script as I define. So it allows us to simulate a push by basically publishing a web URL with a link to the script that once the web request comes in, will fire off the rest of the actions. It's very important that this is deployed on an internal server on your network. If you publish it to a cloud server, then you have to have a very serious discussion about security because you're exposing something out to the web that could open you up to a denial of service attack. But as long as it's on an internal IP and people are clicking the link from browsers on computers within the network, no issues because it's only resolving to an internal IP. So if I clicked it from outside, I would either get something local or it would not resolve to a usable URL. So, and in this case, we can also add functionality because it's a web link. I can pass parameters right in on the URL, and we'll show that here. So this is an example of what that URL looks like. So I'm binding it to this IP address on port 5000. That's where Flask listens by default. But I can define that in the script if I want it to listen on another port. And in this case, I'm passing in the action name, which is set here, and then the workspace and model ID for Anaplan Connect to consume as variables. So, and that's all. The other details are set out in a module away from users so that they just don't have access to change it or view it. It's just there and passed in along with the action. So when they go to the dashboard, they'll just see the action they want to select. In this case, there's only one. It has to match, just like a normal Anaplan Connect job, it has to exactly match the name of the action in Anaplan. But when I click the link, first I will start my server, so it's listening on port 5000. And when I start, it'll open up a tab, sit and think for a minute, while internally you can see the request came in. It's starting Anaplan Connect, running the job, and should fetch some data for us. Very simple dummy data. In this case, just for the year of 2018, a couple of rows of data. You can see here that everything looks like it worked okay. If I jump over to the folder, I should see that. Sorry, just minimize. On Connect, I should see my dummy data CSV, and on this side, I should see that the export was successful, and I can close the window. And here, so because it's a Python script, we can also add in a lot of other functionality to consume that file, transform it, push it to other systems, convert it, whatever we want to do with that data, we can do with Python. This just gives us that functionality that isn't normally in Anaplan. So say you have users who want to finalize numbers and then send back to another database. Well, they can do that without ever leaving the Anaplan environment. So it's a lot easier for them. They don't have to alert anyone to run a job ad hoc. Just click a link and away they go. So I think it makes a much better experience for everyone. And it's not just Anaplan Connect. I can do anything that's scriptable. So some of you may be aware from our CPX this last summer that ServiceNow presented a solution where they're integrating with MuleSoft, integrating SAP BPC and Anaplan using MuleSoft. Well, this is almost exactly the solution they're using. It's just that instead of invoking Anaplan Connect, we made some API calls out to their MuleSoft service, and it runs the tasks for them. And I think that's pretty much it. So.